Hi, everybody. Sorry, I am running late. I had to get my coffee. I wasn't ready. I woke up a little later today and I love it. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Please forgive me. Now, hold up. Y'all are all the way up here and I'm right here. Make sure you guys are right at my level. Okay. Excuse me. I have to clear my throat. Welcome, everybody. I don't know if notifications went out. Hopefully they know. You just never know with this. Let me make sure I let everybody know we live. We live now, Linda. Shout out to everybody. Let me let the good people of the Discord know that we're live. So I woke up and then I went back to bed. I woke up way too early. And whatnot. Um, oh my gosh. Hold on. I heard. Give me 1 second. Let me let the people know that we live now. Everyone, we live now. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Hopefully you guys are doing good. Welcome. So I logged off for Discord and then I'm just now coming through. Shout out to everybody. Okay, how many people we got here? Welcome everybody. Hopefully everybody's notifications went out. Why don't we do this? Let's go ahead and do a little intro because we got some court docs to review, so we got to go through that. Then we got some other news items, and yeah, we got to review a lot. I'm a little surprised I didn't even catch on to the stuff that was happening yesterday because, you know, one thing there's always news. There's always news. All right, let's go. Hold up. Wait a minute. Bruh. Did you hit the like button? Drop some rabbits in the chat. Let's go.
Hit that like, hit that like. Welcome to the chat. Let's chit chat, hit chat. Hit that like, hit that like. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits, drop some rabbits, drop some, drop them, drop them, drop them, drop them. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits, drop some rabbits, drop them, drop them, drop them, drop them. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. If you want the tea, come see me. Rabbit hole is the place to be for real news, not fake news. Celebrity news, breaking news around the clock. Real talk, best on the block. I rock. Real talk, best on the block. I rock. Hit that like, hit that like. Welcome to the chat. Let's chit chat, big chat. Hit that like, hit that like. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits, drop some rabbits, drop some, drop them, drop them, drop them, drop them. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits, drop some rabbits, drop them, drop them, drop them, drop them. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. True crime is my specialty. Exposed in the industry. Unsolved mysteries. Sticking to reality. Fair use commentary. Talking about cults. Trying to get results. Exploring hopes. Exploring. Researching. Debunking. Investigating. Being nosy. Super nosy. Being messy. Being shady. Rabbit hole news. That's me. The chick with ADHD. Unmedicated. But quite educated. Hit that like. Hit that like. Welcome to the chat. Let's chit chat. Hit chat. Hit that like. Hit that like. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits. Drop them. Drop them. Drop them. Drop them. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. Drop some rabbits. Drop them. Drop them. Drop them. Drop them. Drop some rabbits in the chat. Drop some rabbits. Hit that like. Hit that like. Let's go. Let's go. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Oh, my goodness. I love it. Welcome, everybody. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. Thank you so much. And oh, my goodness. Tara Jackson, thank you so much for this $2. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Thank you. Especially with these heavy topics, guys, because, like, you know, they, like I said, they like to censor and tell us what to talk about and not say and everything. So it becomes a little bit of a crazy-ish show, if you know what I mean. Okay, so we're going to get right into it. We have some legal documents to review as it pertains to Sean Diddy Combs that dropped last night that are the talk of the town at this point. YouTube town. So let's start right there, and then we have some other topics to get into. Thank you, thank you. I did see that article. We'll definitely talk about that afterwards. Yeah, I saw that. I'm kind of curious about that and where they got their sources. I think I know what you're referring to, so we'll bring that up in a little bit. But we have to talk about this specific article, or excuse me, this court filing that happened yesterday. So welcome everybody, and let's get it together. And this is pertaining to Sean Diddy Combs. Now this is an 11-page read. Of course, we kind of skimmed through some stuff, like especially like the the citing of various cases, because we're just trying to get to the juice of what's being said here. I have not read it, so I figured I'd read it here with everybody here in the chat. Let me go and get this going. So this was filed last night. Now, for those that don't know, Diddy wrote a very lengthy, through his attorney, a very lengthy request for new trial or acquittal type of situation. He made some pretty compelling arguments, I would say, right? Like, for example, he is the first person under the Mann Act that has been given prison time this extensively. Everybody else has kind of been let go, through whatever conditions probation might put in place, right? So he is definitely making an argument that, he wants to be released or wants a new trial. And again, reminding everybody the fact that he was not convicted of RICO. Okay. So the prosecutor's office answered back. Now I'm kind of curious to see who wrote this. Now these are Jay Clayton, which is kind of like the head, I believe, of this whole office. But then you have Meredith Foster, who was there. One of the prosecutors, again, it was Comey. Comey's gone, but these are the prosecutors that are left that were in the trial, that participated in the Sean Diddy Combs trial. Meredith Foster, Emily Johnson, Christy Slavic, Madison Miser, and Mitzi Steiner. Okay, so these were the other left prosecutors. But let's read into this. So this is to the judge. Despite this court's clear ruling that the defendant must be detained pending sentencing following his conviction on 2 felony counts, the defendant moves again for bail. As the court correctly found after written and oral submissions by the parties on July 2nd, 2025, the defendant's detention pending sentencing is mandatory. There are no exceptional circumstances justifying his release. And even if there were, the defendant cannot demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that he is not a danger to the community. Further, following the court's ambiguous ruling, the defendant now seeks relief without even attempting to demonstrate a reason for reconsideration. Because the defendant's motion fails to demonstrate any of the required showings, he fails to carry his burden, and the motion should be swiftly rejected. This is what the United States writes. Number 1, the defendant has presented no reason for the court to reconsider its detention ruling. The defendant asked the court to reconsider its July 2nd, 2025 ruling that the defendant must be detained pending trial, but failed to even address the proper standard for a notion for reconsideration, let alone meet it. This court properly denied the defendant's request for bail on July 2nd, 2025, and the defendant has failed to present any reason for the court to reconsider its ruling. The court should deny the defendant's motion on the basis alone. Applicable law. Whereas here, a defendant bail application pending appeal was previously denied, a renewed motion for bail is properly considered as a motion for reconsideration by the court. And they have a footnote there to state where they're picking up this argument from. Okay, and then it says, of course, see this, United States versus Vasari. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see. Denied motion to reconsider detention ruling pending sentencing where defendant failed to meet standard for motion for reconsideration. The standard for granting a motion for reconsideration is strict. Okay, another case is cited. Although the federal rule of criminal procedure do not provide for motions for reconsideration, local criminal rule 49.1 permits such motions under certain limited circumstances. Okay, so this is interesting. They're saying that the standard for granting motion for reconsideration is strict, although the federal rule for criminal procedures do not provide for motions for reconsideration. Okay, so are they arguing about the fact that he filed a motion for reconsideration, even though the rule doesn't permit it? Okay. A motion for reconsideration of a court order determining a motion must be filed within 14 days after the court's determination of the original motion. A memorandum no longer than 10 pages in length, setting forth concisely the matter or controlling decision that counsel believes the court has overlooked, must accompany the motion. This is interesting to even know that even in its own little rules, they tell the lawyers how many pages or what they have to write and everything. I find that to be a very interesting way to look at this. Okay. Prior to the adoption, of local rule 49.1, courts in this district applied local civil rules for motions for reconsideration in criminal cases. And thus, courts apply the same standard of review for motions seeking consideration under local criminal rule 49 and local civil rule 6.3 and the federal rules of civil procedures. A motion for reconsideration will generally be denied unless the moving party can point to controlling decisions or data that the court overlooked. Okay. Matters, in other words, that might reasonably be expected to alter the conclusion reached by the court. So the government's saying, well, what data did he provide? Did his defense team provide to say, like, you guys are overlooking this piece or that piece or whatever it may be? United States versus Fisher 587. Okay, another case is cited. To warrant reconsideration, the moving party bears the heavy burden of showing an intervening changing of controlling law, the availability of new evidence, or the need to correct a clear error or prevent a manifest injustice. Okay. A motion for reconsideration is not intended as a vehicle for relitigating old issues, presenting the case under new theories, or otherwise taking a second bite at the apple. All right. Indeed, reconsideration is an extraordinary remedy to be employed sparingly in the interest of what is it? Is it finality? Finality? Is that how you say that? Let me. I want to make sure I say this word correctly. Finality. The fact or impression of being irreversibly ending. Okay, thank you. Just got to make sure I say this correctly. Finality. Okay. That was the word that was used. And he says, extraordinary remedy to be employed sparingly in the interests of finality and conservation of scarce judicial source. So basically saying, like, the defense didn't show anything. There's no data points. There's nothing other than he just wasn't found guilty of RICO. What do y'all think the government is saying here? Let me know. They provide a discussion. The defendant has failed to meet the strict standard for reconsideration as an initial matter. The defendant's motion is untimely under Rule 49.1D because the motion was filed 26 days after the court's July 2nd, 2025 bail determination. The defendant failed to meet Rule 49.1D's 14-day deadline. Further, the defendant failed to point to any intervening change of controlling law, new evidence, clear error, or need to prevent a manifest injustice as required. Indeed, the defense previously presented to the court its assessment of the defendant's risk of flight and dangerousness. The defendant's current motion raised no new issue that the court overlooked in that regard. Similarly, during the bail hearing, the defense put forth the argument that it argued here with respects to exceptional circumstances, namely that the circumstances of the defendant's Mann Act convictions present exceptional circumstances warranting his release from custody. The court heard defense counsel on the point and rejected its position, finding that irrespective of any additional circumstances, the defendant could not establish by clear and convincing evidence that he was not a danger to the community. In addition, as discussed below, the defense raised the condition at the MDC with the court during the prior bail hearing, but stated that the opposite of what they now claim presents extraordinary circumstances. I want to thank the MDC. The MDC gave us good access to him. This is they quoted the transcripts. So they're saying, like, what you're saying, Agnifilo, is opposite of what you said in the transcripts. See trial transcript 8158, what is it, 9-11. And he says, I want to thank MDC. The MDC gave us good access to him. They made it work. And Your Honor helped us a great deal by giving us access to him. So if the conditions were so horrible, how, I mean, are they equating access to that? I have a lot of questions. Let me know. Let me know. What do y'all think? You said Tessa. Shout out to Vic. Vic's in the chat. Shout out to my mods. We see you. We see you. Access, right? Stella, access. What they said. Okay. Well, let's keep going. The defense cannot claim that there was an intervening change in the conditions at the MDC to justify the court's reconsideration. Doing so, we would relitigate old issues or otherwise take a second bite at the apple, which is not the province of a motion for reconsideration. Okay, accordingly, since the defense has failed to carry its burden of showing controlling decisions or matters overlooked by the court should deny the defendant's motion for reconsideration from the court's July 2nd order. The defendant has failed to show any exceptional reason. Even setting aside the defendant's failure to meet or even address the proper standard for a motion for reconsideration, the defendant's motion still fails. As this court previously found, because the defendant was convicted of felonies under Chapter 117, his detention is mandatory pursuant to the Bail Reform Act. And once again, the defendant has not met the requirement of the so-called safety valve, which requires defendant to prove by clear and convincing evidence that they are not a flight risk or danger, that the exceptional reasons exist in making detention appropriate. The defendant's attempt to avoid the mandatory detention provision by claiming that his prosecution under the Mann Act is somehow unique is both incorrect and irrelevant to this motion's circumstances. At the MDC is belied by the factual record, including multiple statements made by counsel for the defendant. There are no exceptional circumstances here, and the defendant's motion can be denied on this basis as well. There is nothing exceptional about the defendant's Mann Act conviction. Ooh, okay. Ooh, okay. What you mean, government? There's nothing exceptional. Is it unique? Is it rare? What? They said there is nothing exceptional. Lord have mercy. I'm like, what? Okay, all right. The defendants spill much ink explaining why the underlying facts of his conviction makes his continued incarceration exceptional. However, the defendant's arguments are baseless, misleading, and run counter to the clear intent expressed by Congress. First, the court should not entertain the defendant's request to override the clear intent of Congress by putting aside the mandatory detention provision in 3143A2 in favor of examining the facts underlying his convictions. The defendant points to no authority for his novel theory, nor could he, because Congress could not have been clearer. Those defendants found guilty of any felony under Chapter 117 of the United States Code shall be detained. Okay, C18 USC. Okay, all those codes are there. And then it says Congress does not say that mandatory detention applies to only to some felonies under Chapter 117, depending on the facts underlining the conviction. Congress said that the mandatory detention applies to any felony under Chapter 117, 18 USC. Okay, emphasis added. The defendant's Mann Act convictions are such felonies. Lord have mercy. They had to put that in there. They said any. Okay. Encouraging the court to consider the facts underlying the defendant's convictions are exceptional reasons. Under 3145 defies Congress' clear intent to make detention mandatory with respect to certain categories of felony convictions. District courts certainly have broad discretion to consider with what constitutes exceptional reasons, but accepting the defendant's invitation would exacerbate the congressional intent underlining the mandatory detention provision contemplated by the Bail Reform Act. Instead of creating a carved out for Mann Act convictions that follow a particular fact pattern in direct conflict with the Bail Reform Act, the court should consider the nature of the offense while Congress has instructed it in in assessing the defendant's risk of flight and danger to the community. Okay, so they quote more. What is it? Cites. There's more cites to this. Second, there is nothing unusual about the defendant being detained after being convicted only on Mann Act counts. Okay, nothing unusual. Even though, I mean, we did read that document, and that was Agnifalo's argument. Simply put, a criminal conviction, even one that the defendant erroneously suggested is novel in its application of the statute of convictions, is a far cry from the types of exceptional reasons sufficient to justify bail pending sentencing where mandatory remand applies. Okay. We feel that the reasons proffered by defendant though unfortunate, are not exceptional. Rather, we think reasons similarly in gravity to those presented by the defendant attend most instances in which a defendant's detention is at issue. Okay. So the defendant cites two cases that he claims involve similar situated defendants and in which the defendants were released on bond conditions following the Mann Act convictions. However, even a cursory review of these cases reveal that other than the statute of convictions, those defendants are not even the slightest bit similar situated to the defendant. Okay, do you guys remember the gestures when we were reading that whole situation, that case that was being cited? Like, they were using the gestures, right? The government is saying, listen, the two cases that you're talking about, Linda, the two cases that you're talking about, they're not even the same. Okay. So we're going to tell you why they're not the same at this point. They're going to basically let us know. Okay. The defendants first point to the conviction of the defendants John Tobridge, Michael Stibrick, and Ronald Stills in the Western District of New York claims that because those three individuals were released on bonds following their guilty pleas, he should too be released on bond. But these defendants were all far less culpable than the defendant. And in fact, the government never sought their detention pre-sentencing, nor did the court appear to consider mandatory remand. Unlike the defendant who transported men and women repeatedly for purposes of engaging in prostitution over the course of more than a decade, Stibrick was convicted of conspiring to transport a woman across state lines for purposes of engaging in commercial work on a single occasion. Similarly, Tobridge admitted to transporting women across state lines on 2 occasions, and Tills, who was sentenced to 18 months imprisonment, admitted to transporting women across the state lines on 6 occasions within a 2-year period. So they're listing all those cases here. Okay. Moreover, none of Tobridge's defendants were alleged to have physically assaulted anyone in connection with the conduct, and Steinbrück transported the victims but did not have any contact with them. Further, both Tobridge and Steinbrück immediately admitted to their conduct, and both provided substantial assistance to the government, resulting in the government moving forward at sentencing for a downward departure pursuant to Section 5K1.1. Okay? The defense also points to conviction of Mario Collins, who was ultimately sentenced to 24 months imprisonment after he was convicted of a Mann Act violation for transporting a victim on a single occasion. Damn. So one occasion that he transported a victim, he was also convicted of a Mann Act. Y'all got to be careful, because it's like, people flying in here, flying people all over and all that other stuff. You have to be very careful. This is one single transporting of folks. Okay. Paying for that, I'm assuming. I don't know. That could fall under the Mann Act if the occasion is prostitution. Okay. Collins was released after a mistrial was declared on the charges against him, including trafficking and Mann Act offenses, and remained on bail after his subsequent conviction on the Mann Act charge. The defendant argued that he, like Collins, should be released. Okay. But this case does not bear the weight that the defendant attempts to place on it. At the time that Collins was initially released after a mistrial, Collins was not subject to mandatory remand because, unlike the defendant, he had not been convicted of any offense. Moreover, while Collins remained on bail after his conviction, it is entirely unclear whether the court even considered a mandatory remand provision. The conclusions that can be drawn from the court's bail decision in the case are limited at best. Third, even if the court were to consider the facts underlining the conviction is considering exceptional circumstances, the nature of the defendant's crimes reflect gravity, aggravating, making up words, aggravating, not mitigating factors, and therefore support the defendant's detention, not his release. The court should reject the defendant's minimized version of his own conduct that he described himself as a mere John, far from being an ordinary and casual consumer of commercial S. The defendant transported individuals for the purposes of prostitution on hundreds of occasions over the course of decades. Okay, and that would be Cassie and Jane, as well as male commercial S workers with rugs to ensure their continued participation in the days-long freak-offs. Use violence against both Ventura and Jane in occasion in freak-offs, and implied a small army of personal staff. Oh, there we go with the army. A personal staff to ensure that his every need was met during the freak-offs. The defendant's actions surely distinguish him from an ordinary John. Remember when Agnifilo said, well, at best, he's just a John. Remember that? That's what he said. You said it's a violent John. Well, it's a John. Does your house have when? No, it doesn't, James. Shout out to you. Good morning, everybody. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. Please share. Thank you. Nurse, I missed this. Thank you again for this. You're doing amazing. Thank you for always being here. You always honest and keep going and don't change. Sending love from the UK. Oh, Nurse, thank you so much for this. This really does mean a lot to me. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for the support. Y'all make it happen. Thank you. You said it's aliens versus predators to me, Miss Toby. That's quite the comparison. Okay. What? They moved Ghislaine to Texas low security prison? When? Today? Oh, we about to get onto that in a little bit. What? You're gonna have to tell me what article, because I can't just put this out here and there's no article to support it. So if you have an article, let me know. Tag me, please, and thank you. Let's keep going with this. We just getting through the Diddy stuff, and we should be done here. We only got it's 11 pages. We only got like 4 more to go. It further says, finally, the court should reject the defendant's pages long risk. Is it? Why did he say that word? Hold up. Let me make sure I said that. I know how to say it. I just can't, for whatever reason, I can't say it. Recitation. Yes, it is. Finally, the court should reject the defendant's long recitation of historic Justice Department policy as both irrelevant and misleading. In the past, the department has a policy specifically related to enforcement of the Mann Act, which focuses on prosecuting the Mann Act in the context of commercial cases. But the department no longer has a specific policy related to the Mann Act. In fact, the department's current guidance includes a policy titled Prosecution of Customers Involved in Federal S Trafficking Offenses, in place since December 2020, which prioritized reducing demand for S trafficking by prosecuting those who engage in commercial S with victims of S trafficking, including buyers of commercial S. See Justice Manual. So the numbers are there. In other words, it is squarely within the priorities of the modern day Justice Department to charge the conduct described above under a variety of federal statutes, including the Mann Act, which is exactly what the government did in this case. The defendants suggest otherwise, relying on defunct policies, is inaccurate and misleading. Oh my goodness. They even went after the policies. Lord have mercy. Okay, what? Let me know. Shut up. Are you serious? Hold up. Let me pause this real quick. Y'all are serious? You guys are serious, right? Get the fuck out of here. What did I tell you guys? All right. Let me put this on pause. Oh my God. Hold up. Wait a minute, Linda. Let me fix this real quick. You're kidding. You're kidding. Hold up. Moved. She's been moved to Texas. Get out of here. Hold up. I'm sorry, y'all. I got to fix this so I let people know what's going on. Oh my God. Time out. Give me a second, guys. Y'all, breaking news right when I'm like live. That's beautiful. Whoo-wee, you're kidding. Give me 1 second. This is crazy. This is I'm in shock, you guys. I really am. So the lady has been moved to a Texas prison. Did they say why? Of course not. They didn't say why. Okay, y'all get ready for this lady to get pardoned. You guys get ready for this lady to get pardoned. Okay, get ready. It's going to happen. Get ready for her to get pardoned. It's going to happen. Give me 1 sec. I'm trying to get everything ready here on my side. You are kidding. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to get everything ready here. I got to change some stuff here so people are aware of what's happening. You're kidding. Oh my God. So for what purpose? Did something happen? They say they moved her because I'm telling you, she's going to get pardoned, guys. She's going to get pardoned. That's what's happening. Okay. I'm going to put this on pause real quick. Let's do this. Let's watch what's going on because it's literally, thank you so much, Pika, for and Mercy. Thank you. This is what we have so far. Let's move on real quick. I'm going to put a marker on Diddy real quick. Okay, this is what we have.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. We do have some breaking news for you as we continue to follow the Jeffrey Epstein saga. Putting this up on your screen right now, this post from the New York Post. We are alerting the U.S. Bureau of Prisons saying today that Ghislaine Maxwell has been transferred from a Florida prison to a lower security facility in Texas to continue serving her 20-year sentence for helping sex offender Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse underage girls. Maxwell's move from FCI Tallahassee, a low security prison, to the federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas, comes a week after she met with Deputy U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche, who said he wanted to speak with her about anyone else who may have been involved in Epstein's crimes. Now, this also comes after President Trump said a bit earlier this week on Tuesday that Jeffrey Epstein, quote, stole young women who worked for the spa at Mar-a-Lago. One of those women, he said, was Virginia Giuffre, who was among Epstein's most well-known sex trafficking accusers. Trump's comments expanded on remarks he had made a day earlier when he had said he had banned Epstein from his private club in Florida 2 decades ago because his one-time friend, quote, stole people that worked for me. At the time, he did not make clear who those workers were. President Trump has faced some scrutiny over his administration's refusal to release more records about Epstein after promises of transparency. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's imprisoned former girlfriend, was recently interviewed inside a Florida courthouse by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, as I just shared with you a few moments ago. However, officials have not publicly disclosed what she said. Her lawyers said earlier this week on Tuesday that she's willing to answer more questions from Congress if she is granted immunity from future prosecution for her testimony and if lawmakers agree to satisfy other conditions. If you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, I did just...
Oh my God. Oh my God. And okay. So she will spend the remainder of Trump's term in custody, minimum security prison. Then right before he leaves office, he will pardon her, in my opinion. This is fucking I'm sorry, I'm cussing now. I'm getting mad. Let me say something. She was in Florida. Okay? Federal crime. Now she's in Texas. Low-level security. Where's everybody's outrage over this? Let me tell you what the hell else happened yesterday that we missed, okay? This shit got me really going crazy. We were talking about Diddy, but listen, let me say something to you. Look at this. Donald Trump inviting S offender into the White House raises eyebrows. I'm not familiar with this guy, but this was like an NFL player. New York Giants linebacker Lawrence Taylor, a registered SO to the White House on Thursday, has garnered controversy. So now we're inviting S offenders to the White House. This was yesterday. We're inviting S offenders to the White House. Did y'all hear about this? Drop a 1 in the chat if you heard about this. Good baby bunny's not in this room. She's with the sitter right now. But literally, like, what? I didn't know this. I didn't know that this happened yesterday. Hold up. So for those that are coming through, we were reading the Diddy documents, okay, on his bail denial and just kind of going through those arguments. This is the breaking news that we just had. I want to say an hour ago that I completely missed because we were live. Again, for those that are coming through, listen to what they're saying, okay?
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. We do have some breaking news for you as we continue to follow the Jeffrey Epstein saga. Putting this up on your screen right now, this post from the New York Post. We are learning the U.S. Bureau of Prisons saying today that Ghislaine Maxwell has been transferred from a Florida prison to a lower security facility in Texas to continue serving her 20-year sentence for helping sex offender Jeffrey Epstein sexually abuse underage girls. Maxwell's move from FCI Tallahassee, a low security prison, to the federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas, comes a week after she met with Deputy U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche, who said he wanted to speak with her about anyone else who may have been involved in Epstein's crimes. Now, this also comes after President Trump said a bit earlier this week on Tuesday that Jeffrey Epstein, quote, stole young women who worked for the spa at Mar-a-Lago. One of those women, he said, was Virginia Giuffre, who was among Epstein's most well-known sex trafficking accusers. Trump's comments expanded on remarks he had made a day earlier when he had said he had banned Epstein from his private club in Florida 2 decades ago because his one-time friend, quote, stole people that worked for me. At the time, he did not make clear who those workers were. President Trump has faced some scrutiny over his...
I'm telling you, they are going to pardon this lady. They really are. Wim, thank you so much for being a member for 32 months. Shout out to you, Wim. Thank you for your ongoing support. You are amazing. Thank you again for supporting my channel. Literally, people's property that can be stolen. A lower security prison, doesn't that make her... I'm confused. Literally. I am so confused. So there you go. For those that are wondering, she's literally a step away. Low-level security prison? Why? How does that happen? How does that happen? Was that part of her immunity package? She's now a political prisoner? Get the F out of here. They will now say that she can be pardoned because she's in a minimum. Right. They're going to say, well, she's not a risk to the community. She's very much in a low level security. I'm telling you, you guys, I'm telling you, this woman is going to walk in the 1,000 victims that they said that they had. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. Nothing is going to happen. Then you got this shit that happened yesterday, and I'm like, oh, we inviting SOs to the White House? We are? Convicted SOs? How does that work? President Trump inviting former New York Giants linebacker Lawrence Taylor, a registered S offender, to the White House on Thursday has garnered controversy. Newsweek has contacted the White House for comment via an email. Okay, sent outside of business hours. Taylor has appeared on stage with Trump at the campaign rallies in the past. By the way, he offended on a 16-year-old girl. Let me tell you, because I didn't even know who the hell this guy was. He was a linebacker. Let's see if we could pull his crimes. Legal troubles. sexual misconduct and patronizing an prostitute. In 2010, Taylor was arrested in Rockland County, New York, after a 16-year-old runaway girl, runaways, which is one of the biggest targeted for human trafficking, runaway kids. Runaway girl accused him of having S with her in a hotel room. The girl was reportedly being S trafficked and had been physically assaulted by her trafficker before being brought to the room. Taylor claimed he thought she was 19. Okay? Birds of a feather, man. Birds of a effing feather. So when you come to my inbox, let me be very clear. And you want to get defensive about stupid shit when we're watching this play out right in here, please make sure you have enough balls to do it, or you're going to get blocked. That's it. I cannot believe this shit. I'm just like, oh my God. Oh my God. This is really, really happening. He appointed Lawrence Taylor. I think there's something about being healthy or getting healthier. So SOs, registered SOs that have violated on trafficked victims can be appointed to positions at the White House. Y'all understand that craziness? This is crazy. Crazy, y'all. We're watching it happen. Who at the White House is doing background checks on the people meeting? Well, the thing is, Joy, come on now. The linebacker is a public persona. His arrest was a public thing. It's not even a background check. It's the guy should know. Like they couldn't appoint anybody else. There's a bunch of NFL people that don't have a criminal record, that haven't perpetrated on children, that haven't had S with runaways and trafficking victims. There's a bunch of them out there. You couldn't appoint any of these guys to take a role at the White House to be some kind of ambassador of health. Does that make any sense, everybody? Happening right in front of us, right in front of us. Oh my God, y'all. I cannot. I'm losing my shit because I'm like, oh my. When I heard this, I said, what? What do you mean? So there's nobody else but Mr. Lawrence Taylor, right? Let me tell you something. Y'all know I'm Mexican, right? They say that corruption in Mexico is, it happens right in front of you. Corruption is very overt in Mexico. Here in the United States, it's usually behind the scenes. Well, not anymore. Not anymore. It's happening right in front of our eyes, guys. Right in front of us. Right in front of us. We're watching it happen. We're normalizing this behavior right here, that it's okay for a man to perpetrate. You're going to get a position in power. You're going to do all this. You're fine. You're going to get all this. You're fine. We're watching this happen right in front of us. Very brazen. Okay? At least in Mexico, it's public. Oh yeah, there's corruption. Okay. Not that there's any acceptance to it, but it's there. Here, it's happening right in front of your eyes now. How do you like that? That's what you got to see. How do you like that? Don't be surprised, okay? Ghislaine Maxwell is not a danger to the community. She didn't do anything. She might be a victim herself. They're changing the narrative for us, okay? So I don't want to hear any bullshit or anything like that. You coming into my, well, this and that. No. It's happening. It's right in front of our eyes. You may not like it. You may excuse it. That's fine. It's happened. It happens in every administration, but here, right now, it's happening, and you guys are living it. You're watching it happen. Okay? Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised. We're going to start having SOs, registered SOs, be able to live in the vicinity of younger children. We're going to be able to have that. That's absolutely fine. It's okay. It's going to be normalized behavior. It's fine. Before, everybody wants to, keep an eye on what everybody's lifestyle is and what they're doing. But now, if you're a registered SO, you've been convicted with a felony and everything, you can go to the White House and be the ambassador of whatever the hell you want to. You can do all kinds of things. I mean, a crime against a child is nothing at this point, right? Like, it's not a big deal. have the right money, support the right things, have the right people lined up in your pockets, you're good. You're good. You're good. Y'all watching it. You guys are watching it. We're all witnesses to it. Okay? Let me calm down, y'all, because this shit is really like, I don't know. This should be the thing that we should go against, period. But it's happening. It's happening. It's happening. Okay. Coco, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships, and thank you so much for the $10. I'm sorry. It just, y'all, like this really got to me. It's crazy. Yeah, she's a dangerous criminal immigrant that Trump is always screaming about, but yet she gets sent to a summer camp. Yeah, right? What did he say about my people? Some of them are good people, and some of them are artists, right? You got somebody that has been accused and convicted of participating and facilitating in the R-ing of a lot of young girls, and she facilitated it and she participated it. She's not even from here, and she gets to step down in a fucking camp. Do y'all hear that? She gets to go to a low-level security camp. Are you kidding me? But you want to deport people that are waiting for their documents to clear through just because you guys got a vendetta against people like myself and others, against brown people specifically. And you know what's the sad part is? It's our very own people that do it to us, our very own brown people that vote against us all the time. Like, oh my goodness. That's fucking insane. That is insane. We lost the plot a long time ago, y'all. We lost it. We lost the plot. We don't even know what the hell it is. Literally. I'm surprised. Like, I'm sorry. I'm getting the news now and I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Whew. All right. Sorry, guys. This some shit. Like, I'm just, I could feel my heart rate just go up by this shit. Anyways, so let me tell you who the hell this guy is. This Lawrence Taylor guy. I didn't know who he was. I heard that he was at the White House and he was received very well. So in 2011, Taylor pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge of misconduct and patronizing a prostitute as part of a plea deal. He was sentenced to 6-year probation in order to register as an S offender. We had an S offender at the White House. Okay, again, acceptance of these crimes. It's okay. It's okay. We are accepting this shit. Okay. Yeah. Let's keep going. Failure to report and address changes. Look at this he further continued to offend. Failure to report address changes as an S offender. Taylor has been arrested on multiple occasions for allegedly failing to report changes to his address as required by his S offender registration status. In 2021, he was arrested in Florida for this offense. In 2021, he was arrested for this offense in 2021. How long ago was that? Put a number in the chat. I'm not really good at math, but I'm pretty sure that was within like the 5-year span. Okay. He was arrested. He was arrested in Florida for this offense, but the charges were later resolved with the plea of no contest to a lesser charge. Okay. In July 2024, Taylor was arrested again in Florida. Oh, that seems like that might have been last year. I'm not really sure. The years escape my head sometimes. In July 2024, Taylor was arrested in Florida on similar charges, which his attorney attributed to a misunderstanding. However, prosecutors dropped the case later that year. So all you got to do, okay, big misunderstanding, and you can drop charges. Big misunderstanding and you can drop charges. Lord have mercy. There's this thing that they say in Spanish. I'm going to say it here. Dime con quién te juntas y te diré quién eres. Meaning, tell me who you hang out with. Tell me who you keep company with, and I'll tell you who you are. Dime con quién te juntas y te diré quién eres, and I'll tell you who you are. Tell me who you keep company with, and I'll tell you who you are. Okay? This is very fitting to this situation. All right? It was a misunderstanding, y'all. I swear. This is something else. There was further drug-related offenses, okay? There was a DUI offense as well. All right? He was sentenced to probation. His stuff got dismissed. Okay, tax evasion as well. All right. While Taylor was initially charged with R in 2010, the charges were reduced as part of a plea deal, but he still had to register. Keep that in mind. Okay. Look at this. You cannot make this up, y'all. Lawrence Taylor, once charged in Rockland on S charges, now on a Trump youth fitness panel. He's on a Trump youth fitness panel and he's supposed to be a registered SO. This is some backward ass shit. Anybody explain this to me? Expeditiously. Like, I don't know what else to say. He is a registered SO as part of a plea deal, and now he's part of a youth fitness panel. What in the backwards ish is this? Out of all the NFL players that there are out there, and trust me, there's a lot of them that aren't SOs. Okay? There's a lot of them that do follow the laws, that don't break the laws, that don't have DUIs in their background, that aren't fucking shit up, right? There's a lot of them that are respecting the laws. They find this guy to be the leader of a youth fitness panel. He violated a 16-year-old girl that was a runaway and a trafficking victim. Did he? Y'all, I don't know what this, I'm just like, what? I'm gonna listen. Vicky, I'm gonna need some Xanax. That's for sure. Joy Miller's like, margaritas and a Xanax. Oh my, namaste. Thank you so much, Joy, for the $4.99. Liz, I'm gonna need some Xanax or something. I'm gonna need something because I want this to make sense to me. How does this happen? I don't see anybody outraged. Y'all MAGAs. Are you mad? What's going on? You can't make this up. I don't know what else to say. It's just some shit. Oh my God. Taylor, so again, we were in this article, this Newsweek article. Taylor has appeared on stage with Trump at campaign rallies in the past, but his attendance at the White House on Thursday comes as Trump faces increasing pressure over his ties to Epstein, a convicted offender whose authorities say died. Okay, we know this part, whatever. The president is now facing an outcry over his administration refusal to release additional records. This was him. Look at this. There was nobody else to run a youth fitness program or whatever but this guy. Okay. The president is now facing an outcry. He has tried to deflect questions about the case, expressing annoyance that people are still talking about it, even as if some of his allies continue to promote conspiracy theories about it. Well, damn. Trump told reporters this week that Epstein stole Virginia Giuffre, one of Epstein's well-known accusers. All right. We're not going to reread stuff that we've already read. But this is what we need to know. Trump signed an executive order on Thursday to reestablish the presidential fitness test for the American children. Okay. And the Sports Council, Taylor and other figures from the sports world, including pro golfer Bryson DeChambeau and Kansas City Chief kicker Harrison Buckner joined Trump in the Roosevelt Room at the White House to become a formal member of the council known as President's Council on Sports and Fitness and Nutrition. Taylor was arrested. Look, they got all his arrests here in 2010 for an arring and prostitution charges in connection to the assault of a 16-year-old girl. I don't know what else to say, y'all. I mean, this is right in front of us. Your backspace button is getting a workout. Right. Did y'all see this shit? I did not expect this. I don't even know if I can read any more Diddy documents after this. Like, that's how much this is. This is too much. It's just too much. I don't know, man. You know what? And that is okay. Like I told y'all, like, this isn't even about the thing is that, and I've had a lot of people say different things to me and stuff like that. Y'all are I don't tell you who to vote for or anything like that. But I just don't want us to be surprised anymore. Just like when the Venezuelans, and I'll call that shit out. When the Venezuelan says, I will vote for Donald Trump, and their asses are the ones getting deported and they're in current lawsuits and everything. And I'm like, did anybody tell you about 2025, the plan that he wrote? Are y'all really surprised? Nobody read this. Nobody in the Venezuelan community read this. And shout out to the Venezuelans, but I'm just letting y'all know, like, come on now. Y'all didn't read this? Yeah, Project 2025. So when they were singing, I said, Lord, listen, I'm not Venezuelan, but and now you see a whole different side of that. And they're very upset. You have people that have been deported and, that shouldn't have been deported, that were waiting for their status or waiting for something, were promised something. We're all like screwed, basically. Okay. Y'all are entitled to vote. And like I said, I don't like the other administration as well. Please don't I don't like any of these guys. I don't. They're not for us. They're not for us. I don't like the Democrats. I don't like I don't like any of these guys. I really don't. And I will talk shit about both of them because they deserve to be talked shit on. They do. What we have in place, it's not helpful. It hasn't worked. It doesn't work. It doesn't. This whole situation doesn't work the way in which it's set up and the pressure that's being played on us. It just doesn't, y'all. That's the reality of it. I don't like any of these guys. All politicians are corrupt. All of them have promised something and they never deliver. All of it has been worse. If you're against immigration or for immigration, whatever it is, it's never what it really is and that they promise. People vote for their own self-interest. They don't vote for other folks, right? You said the Cubans also got a big surprise. I'm not surprised at all. I'm not. And it's not just, a lot of the Mexicans, a lot of people in my community were very much affected by various things. They said, they were like, I voted for da-da-da, and this is what happened to me. And now I got to figure out this and X, Y, and Z. What y'all expect? I don't know what else to tell you. You vote against your own kind. That's the problem. Honestly, that's what happened there. And people try to tell people, like, don't do that, but people don't listen. So, hey, what can we do? What can we do? But educate. That's all we can do. And hopefully we can learn. But like, if you were against SOs and you're against, child predators, look what we're watching happen right in front of us. And nobody's calling this shit out. This is sad. But shout out to you. Is it Becky Derby? Like I said, I'm not here to shame anybody for you. You guys are entitled. Everybody's entitled to vote for whatever. I'm just letting you know that clearly there wasn't enough research done to things. And I'll speak for my own community. I feel like my own community didn't do its research. My own community voted for who they told them to vote for, which is historic the thing, right? Coming from a Catholic family, I feel like even the church kind of intervenes with that, and I don't like that. And I've talked very loudly about that. It's not okay. Okay. It's a very sad and dangerous situation, absolutely. So I don't know, man. We just got started. We just got started. That's what I just don't think that this is going to end very well, at all. You said I expect this. Well, now, well, not exactly, but the heartbreak of this is the kind of thing with Trump. Well, everybody, dear Lord, it's someone with ethics and family values run for office. Let someone with ethics and family values run for office. It's a hard one, Joy, honestly. It's a very hard one. Echoing that prayer, please let it happen. Yeah, I think we're all kind of worried. But again, if we're not willing to protect our own children, because that's what matters. If we're allowing, excusing these kinds of things, we're never going to get anywhere. That's right. And there's these cases too, and everybody should be held accountable. All of them. Church telling people who to vote for, and then they're also part of crimes. Like people got to be careful. People have to be careful. This is not going to end very well. I'm just letting y'all know. It's just not. It's not. So that's the news with that ish. Then we got this ugly clown too. This ugly clown right here. Apparently he has pled guilty to S crimes. Admitted it was not accidental. Well, finally. Okay. Well, finally, we talked about Gary Busey here before. It was not an accidental touching. If I remember correctly, I think it was an event that they were having or something. It was like it was an event. And he made an appearance. It was just gross. Like he was groping on people at this event. So Gary Busey pled guilty to 1 count of 4th degree criminal S contact on Thursday, July 31st. Busey entered his plea during a virtual court appearance where he admitted that he inappropriately touched a woman at a semi-annual Monster Mania convention at the DoubleTree in New Jersey in August of 2022. It is not accidental touching, Busey told the judge, according to The Guardian. Busey's criminal defense attorney, Blair Zillman, tells people that in order for the judge to accept the plea guilty, there has to be a factual basis where he admits to the offense. He had to admit that it was non-consensual. Okay, good. Then it was, and I believe that it was non-consensual because that's why would you admit to that? You know what I mean? Rabs, thank you so much. Did you change your name? Living Story Worlds. Thank you for being a member for 19 months. I think this is Kraken. Kraken, let me know if it's you because your name has changed here. Rab, a four-day ago Katie Couric YT interview with victims is best, but I've seen for understanding the PDF files syndicate in society and why. Now is times messed up. Thank you so much for being a member for 19 months. Yeah, I saw the Virginia. Listen, we saw. I know it's like messing up everybody's handles, Kraken. I was like, I think this is Kraken. I'm pretty sure. Shout out to Kraken. I don't know if you guys. You said he's gone to the lower room. I don't know if you guys. Yesterday we saw Virginia Giuffre's family, and I literally I got really upset watching them talk about Epstein and Trump and everything. That's crazy. Oh, we're not even there yet. We're about to go there right now. But I wanted to throw this under the bus with this situation with Gary Busey. You kind of segued me to this part. Look at this. So anyway, so Gary Busey finally admits, even though he had to admit in order to plead to the count. But Gary Busey, I mean, come on now. The way I see it is you wouldn't admit to these crimes unless you did it. So It was no accident. You groping on people, I don't care how old you are, it's not an accident, okay? Okay. Bloomberg. Somebody was putting it in my chat and I had already had the article up. Look at this. Y'all read the title of this? The FBI redacts Trump's name in Epstein files. Didn't we say that was going to happen? Oh my God. Surf and sunshine. I feel better. I'm sorry. Let's get into this article, okay? Because I have not read it. I read the title, but I had heard something was going on here, which I'm not surprised because we did talk about this before, so people are aware. The FBI redacted Trump's names in the Epstein files. The Bureau of the FOIA's team tasked with conducting a final review of the records blacked out the names before higher-ups said last month that releasing the documents would not be appropriate or warranted. They would not be appropriate or warranted. Okay. That's what he said. Welcome back to the FOIA files. This week, I've delved into the Jeffrey Epstein saga. We know from the news report that Trump's name was in the Epstein files. But what hasn't been reported is that a FBI FOIA team redacted Trump's name and the names of other prominent public figures from the documents, according to 3 people familiar with the matter who were not authorized to speak with the media. That team tasked with conducting a final review of voluminous cache has applied the redaction before the DOJ and the FBI concluded last month that no further disclosure of the file would be appropriate or warranted. From the government's perspective, Trump was a private citizen when the Epstein investigation took place and therefore is entitled to privacy protections. No way, bitch. Really? Okay. All right. Read on and I'll explain. If you're not already getting FOIA files in your inbox, sign up. Oh, I might have to sign up to this. Okay. So, interesting. Okay. Do me a favor, guys. Drop a 1 in the chat if you guys want me to finish up the Diddy before we conclude. We did kind of stop on Diddy to report the breaking news that I'm just so surprised. Put a 1 in the chat if you want me to finish up the Diddy reading on the documents. Because I know some of you guys were here for that and I stopped abruptly. Kitty says 1. Okay. If I can get a couple people to put a 1, I'll definitely weigh in. Put a 2 if you don't want me to. But I see a lot of people are putting 1. So sounds like we're going to finish it. But let's get into this article first and then we'll switch over. And I apologize for switching over the way that I did. But when news is breaking, you just kind of have to go with it, right? The most transparent administration in history. Before explaining the government's rationale for blacking out Trump's name, let's recap. Along with aliens and JFK assassination, conspiracy theories surrounding the life and death of convicted ass offender Jeffrey Epstein have long consumed MAGA. Epstein avoided federal trafficking charges in 2008 when he agreed to plead guilty to state charges in Florida for soliciting prostitution. In July 2019, following an investigation by the Miami Herald that also scrutinized the integrity of the government's probe, Epstein was indicted on federal charges of trafficking of minors. We've seen this. We've seen very briefly the breakdown. I might do a video on just what the Miami investigation brought up. A month later, he died by S in his jail cell, federal law enforcement authorities said, while awaiting trial. Epstein's death led to a swirl of renewed interest among Trump supporters, which in recent months has verged into an obsession. Well, I don't know if it's an obsession. It's more like we're holding people accountable. Last year, while still on the campaign trail, Trump vowed to declassify material in the government's possession pertaining to Epstein. He did vow to that. There was an edited Fox clip and then there was an unedited Fox clip. And he does talk about that. In the second unedited, he says, well, we have to be careful because some of the stuff might be fake news. It's funny how the shit that pertains to him, it's always fake news, but everybody else, it's not. Like, it's not fake news that all this other stuff has happened to him. It is not fake news. Okay. Let's keep going. Linda. Before Pam Bondi was nominated as Attorney General by Trump, She insisted that the public had a right to know more details about the case. If people in the report are still fighting to keep their names private, she said on Fox News last year, they have no legal basis to do so unless they're a child, a victim, or a cooperating defendant. In January, Kash Patel, the FBI director, told a Senate committee during his confirmation hearing that he ensured the American public knows the full weight of what happened. Well, Kash Patel is like under some MK Ultra shit because he's looking casket sharp in his suit. I don't know what it is. The way he looks at the camera and the way he nods, it just looks so weird. It's weird. Definitely weird. Okay, let's keep going. Then on February 27th, during the highly publicized event at the White House, Bondi rolled out what the Justice Department referred to as the first phase. Remember when they tricked the influencers? They all brought in there. The people that attended were Pizzagate people. They were given binders labeled Epstein files, the most transparent administration in the history, unless it involves Trump. Okay, that's what it is. And apparently it was 200 documents of declassified information. We all realize that this was already shit that's been released before. Bondi, Big Epstein party was a bust. It turns out that the documents she called declassified, which included pages from Epstein's famous Black Book, had been previously released, most recently during the criminal trial of Ghislaine Maxwell 4 years earlier. The Black Book revealed Trump's name and the names of his wife, Melania, and other family members. Look at this. Trump. So I'm going to try to read ahead a little bit or skip a little bit over because it's a dense read here. What happened next kicked off a new phase in the Epstein saga. As reported in March of on the 28th edition of the FOIA files, Patel directed FBI agents from the New York and FBI field office to join the Bureau's FBI employees as its sprawling central records complex in Winchester, Virginia, and another building a few miles away. They were instructed to search for and review every single Epstein-related document and determine what could be released. This was called out by, I forget which Democrat called this out. He got wind of this situation and he basically heard that during the when they found out about the Epstein files, they had FBI, its own FBI agents reviewing over 100,000 files, and some of them were working in like 24 hours reviewing these files, redacting information before it's released. So this had already been exposed by another politician. And we were talking about that, and there was a letter specifically that was written to Bondi, and Bondi was being made to answer to this, okay? It further says they were instructed to search for review every single Epstein-related document and determine what could be released. That included a mountain of material accumulated by the FBI over nearly 2 decades, including grand jury testimony, prosecutors' case files, as well as tens and thousands of pages of the Bureau's own investigative files on Epstein. It was a Herculean task that involved as many as 1,000 FBI agents and other personnel pulling all-nighters while pouring through more than 100,000 documents. According to a July letter, this is the senator, Dick Durbin, to Bondi. This is the one that we read. And that was crazy. Senior officials, and shout out to Kissamooch, because she's the one that gave me the heads up on that. Senior officials at the FBI Records Information Dissemination Section, which handles the processing of FBI requests, pushed back on the directives. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can skip to some of this, but it basically says Patel blamed him for the failure to send all of the Epstein records to Bondi, and then a couple of months later, is it Michael Siddell, is that how you say his last name? Michael Siddell, the section chief of RIDS, who worked for the FBI for about 15 years, was quite vocal. The 3 people familiar with the matter told me. Patel blamed him for the failure to send all the Epstein files to Bondi. Then a couple of months ago, Siddell was told he could either retire or be fired, according to the people. He chose the former and quietly left the FBI. Why did he quietly leave the FBI? The people said the details related to Siddell's exit haven't been previously reported. It's the same thing with Comey. A lot of this shit is so weird to me. Ain't this funny? The camera's acting up. Ain't this funny, okay? I'm going to get off camera for a little bit because my camera's acting up. Sidell, he leaves. Comey gets fired. And now Maxwell is in a lower security prison in Texas. Ain't that some funny, unny stuff? Like, let me just say that. Isn't that funny? Crazy. So the FBI guy can't be reached for comment. The FBI employee reviewed the records using the Freedom of Information Act as their guide for deciding what information should be withheld. That alone isn't uncommon. In the FOIA, Congress established 9 exemptions as ways to balance the public right to know against the government's need to protect sensitive interests, such as national security, official deliberation, ongoing law enforcement proceedings, or privacy. When such competing interests arise in the non-FOIA matter, those exceptions are often applied even if the exact language set forth in the FOIA statute does not appear in the final record. Okay, let me see if I can get. So this is not new to me as far as news goes. I have to change the camera battery, y'all, because that's why it's acting up. That's not new to me at all, actually. We did hear that this was happening, that they were going through that, and they were looking to redact Trump's name. So if Trump's name is redacted from all of this, I don't think it should be a surprise to any of us at all, actually. I think it's kind of common knowledge that his name would have been redacted, if you know what I mean. Okay, let's see. Is it working now? All right, hold up. Let me get my camera. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Yeah. Okay, camera's working now better. I think there was something going on with the battery. Okay, so this is not new to me. I'm going to try to skip ahead a little bit because we have to get to the Diddy stuff that people put one in the chat and I got to deliver. In 2016, I requested this is a person who says that they requested all of the FBI files on Trump prior to his presidential campaign. In response, the FBI neither confirmed nor denied that any records existed based on the same 2 privacy exemptions. I ended up suing the Bureau and modifying my FOIA request to center on Trump's business. That allowed me to overcome the privacy exemption. This is my story. Oh, they got okay, I got to see this. This is going to be a separate read for me. All right. So they also have a story to tell about how they try to sue for the files as well. Okay, it further goes. Let's see. See if I can get ahead a little bit. Gaslighting. This brings us up today. After FBI redacted Epstein files, they were sent to Bondi. Media reports said Bondi briefed Trump at the White House in May and told him that he was named in the files. I'm telling you, man, they should all be going to jail for hiding this shit. All of them. Send them all to jail for hiding this shit from everybody. I'll have to read this later on because we definitely have to get back to this part with Diddy. We got it. And I think we left off right over here. I'll have to hold up. Nope, right here. We'll have to read that on later on, but I wanted to make sure that we broke that. Literally, this is too much. Maybe she asked to move in exchange for some more information. Maybe she said, like, I'll give you all the information that you want, but if you can move me to a different prison, but why Texas? Lower security. I want to be able to go out with my friends. I want to go to the community. Yeah. That's the kind of maybe thing that they were doing. I don't know. Let's get into these files. So for those, I'm sorry, we skipped over because we got that little bit of breaking news. We were reading a little bit of the Diddy, so we're back on Diddy real quick to conclude. So the government was saying why Diddy's bail should be denied. Now, the judge still has to rule on a lot of this, just so people are aware. We left off on B. The defendant's attention and MDC is not exceptional. So remember, they were making that argument that, this is somebody with the Mann Act. It's very rare. Other people with the Mann Act have been charged and they haven't been convicted as lengthy as Diddy. They're saying that that's not the case. The defendant claims that his conditions of confinement at MDC are exceptional circumstances. For the reasons described below, they are not. In making the argument, the defendant relies primarily on the judge's Furman's opinion in United States versus Chavez. In that opinion, which was published on January 4th of last year, over 8 months before Combs stepped foot in MDC, Judge Furman found that MDC's conditions at the time, in conjunction, hold up, y'all. Thank you, my love. Thank you, my lovey. In making the argument, the defendant relies primarily on Judge Furman's opinion. We read this. The Judge Furman found that MDC's condition at the time, in conjunction with the defendant's old age and serious medical conditions, constituted exceptional circumstances under a case that they're citing. In doing so, the Judge Furman described the conditions at MDC at the time, which included extensive lockdowns, inadequate medical care, and problematic physical conditions, problems attributable in large part of MDC's staffing shortage. The defendant claims that without evidence, that without evidence that these conditions have not abated during the detention at MDC. He is incorrect. During the defendant's stay at the MDC, the facility has made enormous strides to increasing and stabilizing their staffing levels, improving medical services, and improving physical conditions. Okay, so they're giving some numbers about what MDC has repaired, right? Again, arguing as to why Diddy should not be released based on MDC's conditions. Oh my God. Hey, Official Kingpin. Shout out to the Official Kingpin in the chat. Make sure you guys are checking out his channel. Shout out to the Official Kingpin. Thank you for visiting me, Kingpin. Shout out to you. Let's further go into this. Given these improvements, Chavez no longer provides an accurate picture of conditions at the MDC or basis to find extraordinary circumstances. Indeed, Judge Furman himself observed more than 2 months ago that the conditions at MDC are a lot better than I wrote on my opinion. All right, so if you guys remember, Diddy's attorneys were using what Judge Furman was saying about MDC's conditions to basically put out there to say these conditions in this prison is horrible. It's a horrible situation, right? Although there is a transcript where Agnifilo is thanking the judge and thanking the MDC staff for making Diddy available and everything going well. Yeah, so some contradictions in there, right? And if you contradict yourself in court, they're going to use it, especially the transcript. They're going to call this shit out. They're going to say, no, on page 5,000, section 535, sentence line, whatever, you said this. And that's what they did here. Okay. All right. It is worth noting, and I'm going to move a little bit further. It is also worth noting that the defendant's bail motion is devoid in any claims that the defendant himself was impacted in any way by the conditions he alleged. Okay, they're talking about this specific case. Let's see if we can go down a little bit more because they're getting into the knee-deep details of that case with Chavez and MDC. The defendant has failed to show that he is not a danger or a risk of flight. Okay, the defendant poses a danger to others. This is what the government is saying. Even supposing that extraordinary circumstances could be demonstrated, the defendant fails to establish by clear and convincing evidence that he does not pose a danger to the community. Okay, that's what he says. As the court found less than 1 month ago, it is impossible for the defendant, having repeatedly conceded his propensity to violence at trial, to demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that he poses no danger to any other person in the community. You want to say hello? Okay, say hi. Say hi. All right. All right. No, I cannot give you my phone, but you can shake my hand. Oh my goodness, and little bunnies. All right, go play, Mama Bear. Huh? Yeah. Can you clean that? iPad over there? Thank you, my love. Make sure you wipe it and clean it good, okay? All right. Go get it. She had to say something, okay? She had to say something. The defendant presents nothing to disturb the court's finding, nor can he. The trial record repelled with evidence of the defendant's acts of violence towards others. So again, using Diddy's long decade relationship with Cassie to basically say that he has, that there are repeated acts of violence, and they're kind of reiterating that. They're reiterating the court transcripts. They even mentioned Deontay Nash. Brianna Bangolo is also mentioned, and Gina, who we know was at Whole Foods and didn't attend court because they couldn't find her. I don't believe that shit, but that's just my opinion. More recently, the defendants brutally attacked Jane in June of 2024. Now, Jane has been keeping a low profile. And let me tell you something. You guys are going to think I'm crazy, but I do wonder if Jane has any connections. This is just my opinion. I do wonder if Jane has any connections to Epstein. Because Jane has connections to Peter Nightguard. And Peter Nightguard and Epstein have a bit of a connection too, believe it or not. Fashion industry, world industry, all these people, the Mike Jeffries, the Abercrombie and Finch people, I do wonder if there is a connection. Yeah, they couldn't find the lady was at Whole Foods. What's her name? TMZ founder. They're all connected. I think so too. I'm telling you, there's something more there. I'm looking, and I'll let y'all know if I ever find anything, of course. But let's keep going, okay? We are almost, and I'm literally just skimming over just because I have Baby Bunny here and I can't really get into a dense read. But there's a redaction here. More recently, the defendant brutally attacked Jane in June 2024, also in the context of a freak-off, as Jane testified at trial after she initiated a physical confrontation with the defendant. She repeatedly locked herself in the room in her home to protect herself from the defendant, okay? That's a trial transcript quote right there. The defense kicked down each door. The defendant also kicked Jane's legs out from under her, picked her up in a chokehold, punched her in the face twice. Okay, they're reiterating everything that she did there. Jane was left with a black eye, bruising, and welts on her head. Okay, and the defendant, who is significantly larger in size than Jane, had no visible injuries from the altercation. All right. Under these circumstances, the defendant's claim that his violence against Jane was somehow provoked is disgraceful. Moreover, the fact that the defendant committed this vicious attack just 3 months prior to his arrest, and while he was ambiguously aware that he was under federal investigation, highlights, as the court concludes, a disregard for the rule of law and the propensity for violence. All right. The defendant contends that he does not pose a danger because the trial record does not reflect acts of violence by the defendant between 2018, when he ended his relationship with Miss Ventura, in 2024, when he viciously attacked Jane. All in as an initial matter, the defendant's violent attack of Jane and his years-long proclivity towards violence against Miss Ventura and others is more than sufficient to establish his dangerousness. But the defendant's suggestion that he went several years without inflicting violence on another person simply is not true. The defendant did engage in several acts of violence between 2018 and 2024. Why is this whole area redacted? Why is that redacted? Why is that redacted? Why is that redacted? That makes no sense. Why would they redact that? That's redacted. I don't know why. Let me know. You said his victims were little. It could have ended up more worse. Well, why was that redacted? Sorry, I got a light on over here, guys. Remember his son's football? Y'all, but why was that redacted? But it's redacted following. Okay, let me read after the redaction. The redacted section refers to a proffer agreement that's part of the enterprise letter, likely a new charge. Ah. That's weird. All of that is redacted. Stuff that wasn't heard in court. That's right. Give me 1 second. Yes, honey. Okay. Hold up. You said it's on the footnote? Sorry, and this is the first time I'm reading this. So this is a huge redaction, and there's a footnote 8. Although this evidence was not present at trial, okay, it was not present at trial. So it's something that a lot of us probably, it's not on transcripts, it hasn't been heard. Although this evidence was not present at trial, the court is free to consider it in assessing the defendant's dangerousness. Okay, and they're citing a case. Let's see footnote 8. Defense counsel has been aware of these incidences at least at the time of the government's produce 3,500. Something that didn't make it to court and something that people know that is not in public record. That's what's redacted. Pertaining to Gina, the defendant's history of violence and his continued attempt to minimize his recent violent conduct demonstrates his dangerousness, that he is not amenable to supervision. The defendant unfairly established by clear and convincing evidence, as required, that he does not pose a danger to the community. The defendant is a flight risk. This was what they said. Okay. The defendant also fails to establish by clear and convincing evidence that he is not a flight risk. The defendant faces significant penalties for his crimes of convictions, and raised in the government's July 2nd, 2025 submission. The government's initial view was that the defendant's guidelines range from 51 to 63 months. Okay, thank you. The government is continuing to assess the sentencing guidelines and expects the appropriate guideline range will be subsequently higher. The possibility of a substantial sentence, such as in this case, is a significant factor in assessing the risk of flight. Okay, they're quoting more. Moreover, the defendant's endless financial means. I thought he was going broke. What do they mean by endless financial means? Coupled with his demonstrated ability to conceal his crimes, his past efforts to bribe security officers, we've seen that in the transcripts, as well as his general disregard for the rule of law described above, serve collectively to create a substantial risk of flight. Accordingly, the defendant has also failed to demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that he does not pose a flight risk. Conclusion: for the foregoing reasons, the defendant's motion should be denied. So Jay Clayton is the big guy on The Office. Meredith Foster, Emily Johnson, Christy Slavic, Madison Smizer, Mitzi Steiner. These are all the people. Again, Comey was part of this group and she's gone. She's been fired, right? So there is that. I do believe that there's a lot of muddying that's going on, but I do wonder, like, if they can't allow, okay, government, if this stuff is I guess the reason why the government mentioned that in their motion is because it can be considered for the judge for sentencing, right? And they can consider all this, but it wasn't brought up to public court, if you know what I mean. You said, oh, offshore accounts. Maybe that's where are they aware? Are there offshore accounts? If I was a gazillionaire, I would be having offshore accounts because I don't know, man. I mean, just saying. I would, let me get my little American Express, fly out of here or something. There are, 50 million? Mind you, the attorneys are costing him a lot of money. This guy does have a lot of money, right? You want to draw? Okay, here. Don't mess up my notebook. Can you make sure you draw me a really pretty face? Not the face with the ugly eyes. No, you draw me a pretty face. Okay, thank you. All right. Unacceptable. I want a cute little circle. Okay? All right. Yeah, because the feds are known to bankrupt people. They didn't collect his money, right? Assistant director in charge of the New York field office. Replacement for Williams, yeah. Let me see. Ta-ta. Okay, this circle is getting better. I need you to draw it right here. Make it in a cute little circle so I can show everybody. Listen, today was quite the news day. What is said after the redaction? They're making a quote, Martha, after the redaction. Oh, that's beautiful. Let me show it to the people. Look at this, what she drew. What is this, though? Where's the happy face? That's not a happy face. This is not a happy face. This fails. Nice try. Try it again. Try again. All right, guys. I gotta go because baby buddy's doing the most. She's here in the room and she's bugging too much. So shout out to her. I know she's like drawing. Good job, baby bunny. I told her, go do it again. And let's try a little bit different. Okay. Let's do a little bit something different. Did you do something different? Oh, see, now she made, y'all can't see it. There it is. Look at this. I'm showing everybody. See? Isn't that cute? It's so beautiful. Oh my, draw me a flower. Okay. Thank you. All right. You do it. No, you do it. You flower. Okay, I'll draw you one flower. Hold up, y'all. Baby bunny intermission. All right. This is my flower, okay? There you go. Draw me another. See, mommy put a flower right there. Isn't it gorgeous? Thank you. You said don't believe nobody saying he's bail was denied. The judge hasn't ruled. Yeah, the judge hasn't ruled anything. The bail hasn't been denied. That's what they want it to be. But we don't know if anything has been denied at this point. Can you wait a little bit? Okay, I'll give it to you. Give me a minute. Sit down. Thank you. All right, guys, I gotta go because I gotta tend to baby bunny and I gotta go tend to her and all that. But guys, we reviewed a lot of stuff. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about this whole situation. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys for being with me throughout this whole live. Thank you guys. You could be anywhere else, but you're here. So thank you guys. I will see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys. Have a good one. Bye, guys.